Good morning and welcome to Fox 29's News Now on this Monday morning. We're going to get started with some local news for you. An investigation is set to begin first thing this morning into what caused this massive refinery fire in South Philadelphia. Fox 29's Lauren Johnson filed this report.
A lot of activity, police not on scene here, but what we have seen are Philadelphia Fire Marshal's officers on scene here, ready to start that investigation. All of the agencies working in tandem to find out the cause and the origin of that massive fire. People pulled out their phones, started recording videos that went viral. It was an inferno for hours, and so today an investigation begins into how this all got started. A day later on Saturday, the fire was finally extinguished. The gas valve fueling that fire was shut off. The tank involving that explosion is now isolated. The fire department's hazmat unit and the city's Department of Public Health continues to monitor the air quality around the refinery.
PES has sent an industrial hygienist to do an air monitoring outside the area. The area is clear. PES is going to continue monitoring in the neighborhoods east of here because that's where most of the residences are, and then that's where, this is going to be a long operation.
The health impacts in these neighborhoods around the refinery, it's an epidemic. The asthma, the cancer, the heart disease, and those are really the conditions that have been really prominently associated with air pollution, but this impacts every organ in the body.
I'm sick of the danger of all this around here. You can't breathe. I got asthma, I got heart disease, I got kidney cancer. I don't know where that ever come from. Ain't nobody in my family ever had no type of cancer. My wife had breast cancer. She's a survivor of breast cancer. And all we got is these chemicals floating around in the air from these people saying that ain't nothing wrong. Everything's safe.
The Hazmat Task Force is conducting air quality tests every 2 to 3 hours, and that monitoring is focused on the perimeter of the refinery and the surrounding neighborhoods. We were told several times there was no immediate danger to the surrounding community, but that does not mean people are not still concerned. So 2 hotlines have been set up for people to call. The first number is for anyone who may have any questions or concerns or who may want updates on exactly what's happening. That second phone number is for anyone who may need to report damage from the incident that they've noticed since Friday. Both numbers can also be found on our website. So a quick recap, the investigation starts today. That fire is out, that tank is isolated. Fire marshal officers are on scene here for that investigation to begin at some point this morning.
And in political news this morning, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo held talks Monday with the Saudi king and crown prince after days of mounting tensions following the downing of a U.S. drone last week and after President Donald Trump pulled back from the brink of a retaliatory strike on Iran. Fox's Doug Luzader has more this morning from Washington.
All right, let's get down to Doug in D.C. because, oh man, the tensions continue to grow. A new threat now from Iran this morning to attack the United States military.
And that follows last week's downing of a U.S. Navy drone. And it comes as the Trump administration is quickly trying to build international pressure on the regime.
And we always say, Doug, when you don't think of a drone as a little thing that you operate around your house. This thing's gigantic. It's
like a plane.
It's a plane, yeah.
Yeah, it's the wingspan of an airliner. I mean, the thing is absolutely huge, costs more than $100 million. I mean, this is nothing to sneeze at. Iran is threatening to potentially do it again as the U.S. is talking about a new round of sanctions on Iran today.
They have done it once, they can do it again. That is the message from an Iranian military leader this morning as the repercussions from last week's attack on a U.S. drone continue to grow. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just departed for a quickly arranged trip to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates.
We'll be talking with them about how to make sure that we are all strategically aligned and how we can build out a global coalition.
After backing off a planned military counterstrike, President Trump hopes to apply new economic pressure on Iran with new sanctions. And last week, the U.S. military reportedly initiated a cyber attack on an Iranian computer network.
I'm not looking for war. And if there is, it'll be obliteration like you've never seen before. But I'm not looking to do that.
Members of Iran's parliament began a Death to America chant. The country is poised this week to violate the nuclear stockpile limits of the Iran nuclear agreement, which the U.S. has already backed out of. And according to the Wall Street Journal, at the UN Security Council today, the U.S. is expected to present evidence that the drone that was shot down last week, like this one, was in international airspace.
Oh, international airspace. So we will find out what happens up in Manhattan today at the UN.
And in consumer news this morning, if you are looking for a way to up your Instagram game, look no further. Mike and Alex checked in with Fox Business this morning to find out more.
Getting the perfect Instagram shot has become an art form, from, you know, how you pose, but especially the location, right?
So now there's an app that helps you find the perfect backdrop wherever you travel, Hillary?
There is. It's called Duplo, and you can download it on the App Store. And really, this is an Instagram influencer's dream come true, because all of their work, I think, you know, what they have to put into their job, which is getting a great photo, is basically done for them by this app. You download the app, you put in what city you're in. Of course, not every city is in there, but if you're in one of the spots, go to that city, and then there's a list of where to find all the iconic photos that you would possibly need to take in that city. There's lighting tips, when to go, when the best lighting, when you'll make sure that no one else is in your photo, parking tips, GPS, how to get there, location info. Yeah,
like so is it bad that I like this?
This is what's interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, it's great if you're super, you know, if you don't want to put the work into getting great Instagram content, this is the app for you because it does all the work for you. But when you're going on vacation, a new study shows everyone under 33, 40% of that demographic decides where they're going to vacation based on how Instagrammable it is.
No.
So
I don't know about
really,
that part.
Instagram.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this study says that, but really, Instagram content is obviously a big industry. A lot of influencers make tons of money off of their posts. But for people that are just millennials and want good content, this is a great app for you.
I will admit, though, I don't choose the destination based on, you know, what will be a good Instagram post, but looking at other people's Instagram posts helps inspire me to where I might want to go in the future. Like, I like looking on travel Instagrams, seeing all the cool places I never thought of before.
I would use this app. Now, here's the downside. It's just getting started, so Philly isn't included in the cities yet.
That's a big downside.
Yeah, but I bet Philly will be on there soon.
Here's my complaint. They have Kansas City on there before Philly. I feel like more people, well, maybe I'm biased, but I feel like there's more to see in Philadelphia than Kansas City.
My guess is that the developers are from the Kansas City area.
And so maybe that's why they have that.
Might have been even the first one. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. I like it. All right, Hillary, we'll see you tomorrow. So,
and it's free. I like that, too.
What would be the obvious places? I mean, would it be, you know, the Rocky statue, that kind of stuff?
Here? Yeah, but there's some great murals. I probably would have a list of, like, from the mural arts program, all the great murals you can take pictures in front of.
There's a great Instagram wall at the Citizens Bank Park, too.
Or a nice rooftop where you can have a view of the city. That might be nice.
Yeah.
Belmont Plateau, you could do that.
Oh, yeah.
It's where everybody go.
So, in other words, we don't have to look up the research on our own anymore. Don't have to do any of the work, like look up in a Fedor's book or whatever, travel book, and look at, you know.
But, I mean, maybe it's nice because you don't want to leave a place and say, oh, I missed that? I didn't get to go see that.
Yeah, guess so.
And moving on to your Fox 29 Weather Authority. The Philadelphia area is slated for a mix of sun and clouds Monday with increasing humidity. Monday will reach a high of 87 degrees, giving us a pleasant start to the morning before moving on to a more humid afternoon and increasing cloud coverage. Temperatures are forecasted to stay in the low 90s for the majority of this week, bringing us what is likely to be our first heat wave of the summer. Here we have a look at current temperatures in our area, already up in the 70s this morning. 72 degrees up in Mount Pocono, 77 degrees in Lancaster, the same here, right here in Philadelphia, and already up to nearly 80 degrees in both Atlantic City and Wildwood, New Jersey. And looking ahead to your 7-day forecast, again, it's going to be, oh, you know what? Looking at this seems to be a day behind. But you know what? What you need to know for this week is it is going to be hot. Today is going to be humid. And we're looking at 90s for the majority of this week. Don't see much rain in the forecast, so we get to take a bit of a break from the precipitation that marked much of June this year. And don't forget to download the latest version of the Fox 29 Weather Authority app to have the latest forecast right at your fingertips. And back to local news this morning. 6 crew members arrested in a massive cocaine bust at the Philadelphia port will appear in court today. Authorities now say more than 35,000 pounds of cocaine was seized from the ship, making it the largest cocaine haul in U.S. history. The street value of the drugs is worth more than $1.1 billion. Officials are still inspecting containers on the ship. And in Cape May County, a plane made a terrifying emergency landing, sending the aircraft nose down into an Ocean City marsh. It happened around 10 yesterday morning on the 2600 block of Bay Avenue. The plane was only feet from the Ocean City Municipal Airport when it had to make the emergency landing. After touching down, it crashed, nosediving, right into the sticky marsh. Luckily, both people on board the aircraft were uninjured. A resident recalls the moment she realized a plane went down right by her home.
All of a sudden, I saw the ambulance and the fire trucks come in, and I knew something happened, just so they don't come into our house. That's all that worries me.
This is the second time this month a plane had to make an emergency landing in the area. Residents say many of these planes fly as low as 500 feet above their homes. And in Delaware County this weekend, one person was killed after being struck by an Amtrak train. Officials say it happened around 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon on East Hinckley Ave, near West Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park. Amtrak says someone was trespassing on the tracks when a train struck them. No one on the train was hurt, and the victim has not been identified by police. And more gun violence out of the city of Philadelphia this weekend. A 16-year-old boy is in the hospital after being shot in the city's Fairhill section. It happened around 6 yesterday evening on 6th Street near Indiana Avenue. The victim was shot once in the leg and transported to Temple University Hospital, where he's listed in stable condition. So far, no arrests. And that shooting capped another violent weekend in Philadelphia. Shootings in South Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, and West Powhatan Saturday night left a total of 11 people injured and 1 person killed. And in Burlington County, the Red Cross is helping residents after massive flooding destroyed their property and belongings. Many homes in areas like Sewell, Pennsauken, and Westville are still waterlogged after last week's storm. The Red Cross has been meeting with folks in need of emergency assistance. They are helping families get back on their feet and handing out cleanup kits to jumpstart repairs. Those kits include mops, masks, gloves, and bleach.
It was a lot of water. It flooded my whole car, so I have no car.
As long as I lived here, that's never happened. Never had that much rain.
Westville officials are meeting with state leaders on Tuesday, hoping to get additional aid. And communities across the city are protesting President Trump's plan to escalate ICE raids. Protesters will gather at the Philadelphia ICE office this morning in Center City from 11 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. Immigrant justice organizations, clergy, and immigrant communities are set to participate, saying they want to send a message to ICE and the Trump administration that they're ready to stand up for their families and neighbors. President Trump announced earlier this month that ICE will begin arresting millions of people who are in the U.S. illegally. Then later backtracked that statement, saying he will delay the nationwide deportation raid. And in political news, another day, another Democrat has thrown his hat into the ring for the party's presidential nomination. This time, former Pennsylvania Representative Joe Sestak officially joining the race. The retired Navy three-star admiral becomes the 24th Democrat looking to unseat President Donald Trump in 2020. He's a Delaware County native and served in the House of Representatives from 2007 to 2011.
I also include that all of our veterans. So keep those in mind more than anyone else.
And in Atlantic County, New Jersey is getting ready to build a massive wind farm just off the coast of Atlantic City. The State Board of Public Utilities tapped a Danish company to build the massive turbines. They would generate more than 1,000 megawatts of electricity. The same company already operates a wind farm off the coast of Rhode Island. And on Good Day Philadelphia this morning, another death in the Dominican Republic brings the total of Americans who have lost their lives while vacationing there to 11. Should you cancel your trip? A local travel agent joined Good Day this morning to discuss.
All right, thank you, Bob. Coming up on 7:33. Concern over travel to the Dominican Republic is continuing.
Well, that's for sure. This is after the deaths of 11 Americans in, about a year. The FBI is in the Caribbean right now in the Dominican Republic. Yeah, FBI is there.
Meanwhile, U.S. Representative, the only Dominican-American member of Congress, is planning to take a trip to the region next month. He wants to sit down with tourism leaders and government officials to ensure the safety of American visitors.
And there he is right there. I'm surprised he's waiting another month. But what if you're planning on going to the DR? Should you still make that trip? Jen is here. Jen McDonald. Can I call you Jen?
Yes, absolutely.
I just did. Sorry. Jennifer McDonald. You've been born and raised in Philly, right?
Yes.
Okay, been in this business a long time.
And you've traveled to the Dominican Republic
Absolutely,
before.
multiple times.
And you love it there.
I do. I love the Dominican Republic.
So, what is going on? Have you looked at the statistics of, natural causes, deaths, compared to what's been going on lately?
Sure. We look at the statistics every morning in the travel industry because this is a big concern for us right now. As it stands, the State Department, who tracks and reports deaths of citizens abroad, says there's no uptick in the numbers of deaths. Even though it seems like it to us right now because of the media frenzy surrounding the Dominican Republic, we're really standing at less than 10 for this 6-month period of 2019. We have an average of 18 deaths per year. So there's no increase in the number. It's just an increase in the reporting of the numbers right now.
But wouldn't you say we're still pretty far along if you're comparing it to a year and we still have 6 months left of this year and it's kind of
But we're at the halfway mark. So if we've experienced 9 American deaths this year in 2019 and 11, the average is 18 for a year, we're halfway there.
Well, I don't know how the other people died in past years, but with this mini bar stuff, a little mini bar, little bottle of booze, and then the person's dead.
Right. Well, and there's really no concrete evidence right now stating how these deaths took place. The Dominican Republic government did reach out to the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo. They also reached out to the FBI, who is now assisting in the investigation. They're analyzing at least 3 toxicology screenings in their Quantico office.
Are you still booking people to go?
Absolutely.
Really?
Do they have concerns? Have they voiced any?
Sure, they have concerns. We've got plenty of travelers visiting the Dominican Republic this summer. What happens is our clients reach out to us with the concerns because of everything they've seen online and on the news. We give them the statistics. We send them the factual data. We listen to their fears. We reach out to our hotel partners that they're visiting. Some of our hotel partners have taken mini bars out of the rooms. The Hard Rock just did that recently as a preemptive measure. It's not stating that there's anything wrong with the liquor, but they wanted to make sure.
Are the prices coming down?
The prices are still pretty stacked. Yes, it's definitely an affordable vacation spot, which is why it's so popular with travelers.
Okay.
Are there certain hotels? Because for me, hearing about the deaths and everything, I want to know where were these hotels, and I want to maybe go to a different one. Are people asking for that? Are there certain hotels that you're recommending over others?
We definitely have preferred hotel partners.
Okay.
A lot of them are North American-based companies that are Green Globe certified, so it limits the use of pesticides that they use.
Yeah, that was a concern.
Safety protocols are really in place in the resorts that we trust.
Okay, let's say I booked a trip down there. I'm ready to go, but I don't want to go anymore. Can I get my money back?
That depends. If you had a certain type of insurance policy, there's a possibility that you could get your money back. Some insurances will cover change fees and give you other opportunities to change your destination. Clients that don't have that kind of insurance still have opportunities, as some of the airlines have started waiving change fees to the Dominican Republic for a period of time. So as travel advisors, we just work with our clients to make sure we're giving them the best options available.
How do I get a hold of you?
You can reach me at info@travelsalesgroup.com.
Listen to that.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Thank
You were
you.
very good. You said you were nervous. You were really
I
good.
was nervous.
We could not tell.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
nicely
appreciate
done.
it.
You're a natural.
So when's the next time you're going to the Dominican Republic then?
Later this year.
Later this year?
Yes, I will be there.
I'll be darned.
And more on Good Day Philadelphia this morning. Did you hear about the spider that ate a possum? Everyone wants to know how it's possible. So we got an expert with spiders on the set to talk all about it.
Do you have arachnophobia?
No, but I just
I
the
do.
look of them. Oh,
I
you do? Oh,
yeah. I'm not a fan of spiders. So a lot of people are reacting to something they saw on the internet. That is a huntsman spider, which can get to the size of your hand, an adult person's hand, has killed and is eating a possum. Now, albeit this is way down on the other side of the world, it's off the coast of Australia, Tasmania. Woo, Tasmanian devil. John Cambridge is back once again. And John, remind us, you're the CEO of a Philadelphia Insectarium.
Yes.
And Butterfly Pavilion.
Yeah, got them both.
I prefer butterflies over this, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, God forbid you bring the butterflies.
They're all important, you know, we like them.
What are you holding right there before we get into the talk of the huntsman?
Okay, so this is a desert blonde tarantula. This is a really common species that we have across the southwest United States and about the same size as the huntsman in that picture.
So the huntsman, if we don't have the huntsman that was eating the possum in the United States?
No, we don't have that one here. We do have other huntsmen. So huntsman is a large category of spider.
Okay. So this is like his cousin or something?
Yeah, I mean, huntsmen, to be honest, they're not actually, they're just not as closely related to spiders as you might think.
Now, let's go back to the picture of the huntsman eating the possum. It is a pygmy possum. It's not.
Yeah, it's a little thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But still.
Would it have killed it with venom and then eaten it?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. I mean, you can, even around in the United States, you can see spiders that are eating little tiny mice or, you know, a small mammal is a tasty prey.
Okay. Now, this video of a huntsman spider is from Epic Wildlife. We found it on YouTube. Have you seen this, John?
No, let's take a look.
I know. I don't know. I don't even see it.
Yeah.
Hold on, maybe you have to wait for it.
Is it like a giant,
Is it in that car somewhere, Chelsea?
a huge
Yeah, we don't know what
spider?
we're looking at.
Well,
That went well.
look
it's
at that
on.
thing.
Oh, the sunroof up the top?
I mean, yeah, that's like a nice big spider, I guess.
It seems like the same size as what you're holding.
Yeah, I mean, it was right next to your head and you didn't know it. That's not great.
Oh,
but
yeah, I'm running.
You don't have anything to fear from any of these. So I got
Well,
four different
hold on.
ones here. Yeah.
Alex is not that big.
Well, I mean, you know, if she'd like to. All right. But the most venomous one that we got over here is the black widow. So people are used to seeing this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a spider that doesn't really have that traditional Charlotte's Web kind of structure. It's just kind of this chaotic mess of web, so if you can see that in there.
I thought black widows had red on them.
They do. They have like a red hourglass on their abdomen. It's like a very characteristic way to tell if you're looking at them.
So we just can't see it with the way it's positioned now, I guess?
All right. I mean, I bet we can get on in there and find it.
But you said it was very venomous.
People are way more scared of black widows than they actually need to be. The number of people who have actually died in the last like 20 years from a black widow bite, it's like 1.
Oh, let me put my hand in there.
Yeah, just get right in there. All right.
So then why do they make such a big deal about it then?
Because fear sells.
Well, that's true.
All right, so let's see if we can look at that abdomen. Oh,
but they are common in the States, right?
They
black
are
widows.
super common in the States, and there's a bunch of different types.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know if you're going to be able to get in there.
That's okay.
Yeah, that is fine.
Yeah.
We're not complaining.
It's the Louis Vuitton of spiders.
No, Christian Louis Vuitton.
Oh, sorry.
That's the one with the red bottoms.
Yeah.
Good
now,
Good
this one's a little bit bigger. This is a wolf spider, and this is one of the ones that you commonly see running around here.
Ooh, it's skinnier too.
Yeah, but if it gets a nice meal, that abdomen is going to swell. So whenever you're looking at a spider, you got two main parts. The cephalothorax is the head with all the legs coming off of it, and the abdomen is that bulbous part on the back. That's the part that gets huge and why a spider is able to consume more than its actual weight.
So this did actually happen. A spider can kill and eat a possum.
Totally. Yeah, so I mean, some of them actually eat birds. That's why we got bird-eating tarantulas.
Yeah. But how do they get to the bird gets stuck on the web and then they do it? Or
no, so all right, different spiders use silk for different purposes. So like an orb weaver, like Charlotte's Web, think that they have sticky silk, something gets caught in the web and they eat it. Something like a tarantula, you can see on the ground here. See how there's, it's just like holding the earth together?
Yeah.
Right. It's not sticky. It just makes it easy for that spider to run and catch its prey because it can hold on to the ground better.
Yeah.
So bird-eating tarantula, no sticky silk.
Okay. John, always a pleasure.
Sometimes.
Yes. Thank you.
Not this time, but
normally
a pleasure.
Right.
But thanks for coming in.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, so let's talk about last...
And more on Good Day Philadelphia this morning. With over 30 years in the business, one Bucks County eatery says it has perfected the art of the hoagie. Fox 29's Mike Jarek says you gotta try this.
All right, well, there's a place in Levittown, Bucks County, that will fry any sandwich on the menu. So their biggest seller, a fried hoagie.
And Mike says you gotta try this.
Well, look at me. I'm in Bucks County on Emily Road. You know the place, Hoagie Express, right next to Throttle City. And this is the owner right here, and still chef. 7 days a week, right?
That's right.
Nick, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Mike.
Nick, how long has this place been here?
So this is 1984.
What?
Yeah, December of 1984.
Who's that guy back there being so noisy?
That's Jeff. Jeff opened the business in 1984.
Okay, then you bought it.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go right to the wall here. What's the Hampton?
That's our ham hoagie.
What's the Musketeer?
Cheese. It has American, mozzarella, and provolone.
So it's just cheese.
Just cheese.
What's the Gobbler?
Turkey. Yep.
It's the turkey. Okay, now here's what's... Somebody a few years ago decided, take any of these sandwiches, my gosh, there's a lot of them, and throw it into a deep fryer.
Yeah, yep. Take our full-size sandwiches, and we can deep fry. So this is our deep fried cheesesteak. We take our full-size, I like to put onions and mushrooms and peppers in it, but that's just meat and cheese that, it always comes with a side of whiz sauce to dip in.
So you just regular bread?
It's a soft wrap.
It's a soft wrap.
Yeah.
Throw it in there, and what's it do to the sandwich then?
It really binds it. It's great.
Congeals and glue. And that looks like a hoagie that you've thrown in.
This is something pretty cool. This is a deep fried Italian hoagie.
That's the one to go with.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Now, would you dip it in the condiments or not? I'm going to do it raw first.
There you go. Yep. So our Italian, that's all our meats and cheeses, capicola, peppered ham, and a tangy provolone. And when you heat it up, it really changes the flavor of the hoagie.
And it doesn't, it changes the flavor of a hoagie. It's not quite a melt, but it has like a patty melt kind of feel to it.
Yes, it's special. Yeah, it's different.
It's really different, but I like it. Let's try the cheesesteak. what's even better.
Yeah.
It's a different flavored cheesesteak. But really good. You're onto something. Could I put my sausage sizzler into the deep fryer?
You could. Deep fry your sausage, yeah.
What's it going to do to that? Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Emily Road, yep.
Levittown.
Bucks County. You got to try this. Oh, this is wow.
And moving on to political news this morning, we are going to move on to a roundtable with Beto O'Rourke, who is one of 24 Democrats now running to unseat President Trump in the 2020 election.
Who come back to be able to access that earned benefit. Let's remove the red tape and bureaucracy and make sure that they can get the training and the education that they deserve. That also will be a priority for us, and we'll listen to those who are providing the education and the access to make sure that it's delivered to every veteran without exception. Thank you for raising that. Appreciate that. Sir.
Good morning. Thank you for coming and listening to us this morning. My name is Bryce Bowden. I'm a transplant from Chicago. I'm a post-Vietnam War veteran, both the Navy and the Air Force. My primary concern, similar to the gentleman on the end, is with the disability claims. Right. I've been exposed. I was at Camp Lejeune doing the chemical water. But it's all about that presumption. I've had a bout with hepatitis, prostate cancer, and a liver disorder. But at this point, those disorders are not part of the presumed disabilities. So once again, we go through the appeal. And you said 40 years for Agent Orange. The actual toxic water was discovered in 1954, and this is 2019. So it will, as the denial until I die, that was probably what's going to be the situation. So it's things like that. So, mine is a unselfish reason for being here so that this can be brought up and actually made aware to other people to continue to do these appeals and to keep making your voice, make it louder, and so people are aware, and hopefully the VA will say that's, we have to add this to the list of disabilities.
Absolutely.
Thanks again.
Let's make sure that we're paying the full cost. We're very ready to send women and men into harm's way. The bombs, the bullets, the missiles. But when these service members come back, we make them jump through hoops or cut through, navigate so much red tape and bureaucracy that far too many end up giving up. I mentioned the 20 we lose a day, every single day. 16 of those 20 did not come to the VA, either could not get in or made perhaps a logical decision that it just was not worth their time to try to fight through that mess in many cases in order to get the care that they need. And on disability claims and appeals, my feeling is if we trusted you to carry a weapon, to put your life on the line, to perhaps lose your life, to take the lives of others in the name of this country, we should trust you when you said that you were exposed to a toxin that has made you sick. Let's err on the side of the veterans. If there is any fraud, let's root that out, of course. But in the vast majority of cases, we have every reason to believe that veteran and rush them the care that they need. And you mentioned Camp Lejeune, and you mentioned the year 1954, and here we are in 2019. I'm confident that our fellow Americans in the wealthiest, the most powerful country on the face of the planet would pay what it costs to make sure that we're there for those who were exposed to these toxins. So you've got my commitment on that, and you also have my attention and my focus by raising that specific issue. So thank you. Really appreciate that.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Joshua Linney. I'm with Veterans for Cannabis. Full disclosure, I'm an advocate at the state, local, and federal levels to get veterans access to safer, more effective health care. I'm a Manatee County resident, born and raised, homegrown, locally educated. I graduated from Manatee. I went to UCF, go Knights, and I'm a former candidate for local office. I could spend all day. Jerry Green and I have talked on the phone. I haven't had the pleasure of talking to Don yet, but my stepfather was a Korean War veteran. My uncle was a Vietnam veteran who did 3 tours as a tunnel rat. I've seen the spoils of war. I've seen the impact of war generationally, year after year. It goes on. I myself am a Gulf War veteran. I served in Operation Vigilant Warrior. I don't consider myself a combat veteran despite my DD-214 because I didn't see hostile combat. For me, the difficult part is that I came back in '96 and separated, and until 6 years ago lived on 10% disability with the VA, trying to fight to justify why I needed my Persian Gulf War illness to be connected as a service-related illness, why the neuropathy from the TBI was actually not a head injury that happened later, in which I'm still not service-connected for. So I actually came back and started using cannabis in college and was almost threatened to lose my GI Bill, so I quit it and ended up doing a 20-year dependence fighting opiates and Xanax because I was forced onto the prescriptions that my VA doctor provided me, or I was going to lose the disability because I wasn't really disabled, or I must not have PTSD, or if I didn't hurt, why was I not taking the meds? So I fought 20 years of addiction and dependence. I lost lots of friends. I lost business partners. I lost several buddies from the military, and we weren't allowed to have any safer, more effective options. I'm glad you keep bringing up the 22, as it's known, a day that we lose from suicide, but what people don't talk about is the other 30 a day we're losing to the prescription overdoses at the hands of our VA providers. The statistic that's often left out is that we lose more service members and veterans every day stateside to suicide and overdose than we lose to combat overseas every single day. And it's never addressed. So until veterans and patients all over the country have access to safer, more effective, non-lethal treatment options to deal with and manage their symptoms, I don't know how our government can justify a $220 billion with a B dollar VA budget coming up in the new 2020. 88% of that is health care. I want you to resonate that for a second. Our VA covers GI bills, housing, benefits, disability, healthcare. Is 88% of the total money paid out, and almost 70% of that is prescription medication. Those are profits that are coming from prescriptions, every single one of which at the VA has a lethal dose. There's not a prescription the VA can give you that doesn't have a warning about how much of it will kill you. We have treatment options available in our state levels now that have no lethal doses in the last 2,000 years. And why those treatment options aren't safe enough for veterans who put their life on the line to defend their country to come back and die at the hands of VA providers with pills who continue to be allowed to prescribe is, to me, a question that I need someone like you to answer.
Yeah. You made the case so well. We were having a veterans town hall, one of those that Stephanie mentioned that I held regularly as a member of Congress. And I remember a veteran coming forward to the microphone, said that he'd served, come back to this country, was prescribed an opioid at the VA. The VA generally realized that they had a problem with overprescription. They realized in particular in his case that they had a problem and cut him off. But they cut him off without any alternative treatment or care. And at the microphone in front of 200 people in public, he said, I am buying heroin on the street right now because it is the only way that I can care for and treat myself. That guy is not a criminal justice problem. He is a public health priority. He's a veteran who needs our care and our treatment. And again, the excellent case that you just made, the case I've heard from doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists at the VA, they want to be able to prescribe medicinal cannabis in certain instances as an alternative to an opioid, which they know there's a good likelihood that veteran will become addicted to, which may ultimately end in that veteran's death. So this is a life or death issue at the VA, and I'm grateful to you and others who've been on the front lines of advocacy to make sure that this country takes this issue seriously and that we begin to change our laws to reflect that. And now that more than half the country has decided that we'll either decriminalize, medicinalize, or legalize marijuana, I think it's important that at the federal level and from the administration and as president, I'll make this a priority, we end the prohibition on marijuana and get care to people who otherwise would be denied it. Save lives in the process. Thank you. Thanks for raising this.
Through the VA.
And access through the VA. Yes, sir. Yeah.
First of all, my name's Andrew Learned, and I just want to thank you for being here. I know you're going to be talking to a lot of people at the debates later this week, but being here and listening to the vets, I think, speaks louder than that ever possibly could. I ran for Congress in 2018, and in a story very similar to the one that you just articulated, and tragically to Stephanie and Dan's, I think all of us as candidates who have met people along the way have heard the stories of people who were overprescribed and then turned to heroin, overdosed, and tragically didn't make it. My story is a little bit different. I'm a vet myself. I did 4 years active duty, then I went to the reserves. I'm still actively in the reserves. I'm a lieutenant commander with Special Forces Command Central, which is based here in Tampa. I don't know if that makes me a vet or not a vet. I still have not been given clarification on that, so if we can figure that out, that'd be great. But my story is a little bit different. I ran because I was the lead planner for the war in Yemen for a group called 5th Marine Expeditionary Brigade that was based in Bahrain. And on Trump's third day on the job, he ordered a mission against all the advice that we'd given, took the briefing in a Mar-a-Lago ballroom instead of in a classified setting, and then basically forgot because then he tweeted the Muslim ban the night before the team went into country. And tragically, Senior Chief Ryan Owens was killed. He was a U.S. Navy SEAL on his 12th combat tour. And I think it's for all of that we talk about for care for veterans once we come back, I think one of the biggest burdens is on the president to use lethal force judiciously, because we could do a lot more good on the front end preventing a lot of these conflicts. And so what you were talking about, ending forever wars, I think is incredibly powerful and special. Also, as one of the younger vets here who, thankfully, no holes, one piece, hasn't had to interact too much with the VA healthcare system on a personal level, I think there's lots of other VA benefits that certainly need addressing. We've been paying for higher education for our veterans for a long time through the post-9/11 GI Bill, also home loans. But there's a remarkable underserving for veterans who want to use those benefits to go start businesses. Congress used to let the Patriot Express small business loan, where the Small Business Administration would back up veterans to start small businesses, and it's something they let sunset years ago. And that's something that could create millions of jobs for our returning vets. We all have vets who are coming home and want to contribute to society, and all they need is the $5,000 it might take to buy a van and some tools to go install solar panels or go repair HVAC machines, that sort of stuff. And that's something where as president and as a leader on these issues, I think it's something we could bring back and help a lot of people and do a lot of good. So thank you again for listening and being here.
Thank you. Andrew, thanks for everything that you just said. Thank you also for elevating the memory of Ryan Owens and reminding us that was his 12th combat tour, and that we ask so much of so few in this country right now. Literally on their backs, American foreign policy at this moment, whether it's in Yemen or so many other parts of the world. So ending these wars, working more closely with our allies and our friends whom this president has turned his back on and estranged is critical, not just to securing our foreign policy aims, but making sure that we truly value the lives of our U.S. service members and only deploy them when it is the absolute last resort. On this idea of entrepreneurship, the so-called greatest generation, returning World War II veterans, nearly half of them, nearly 50%, were small business owners. came back and built the greatest, the largest economy the world has ever known, lifted tens of millions out of poverty and into the middle class. The post 9/11 generation, I think the rate of small business creation is like 4%. And it's not because they are any less than. It is because this government has not given them the opportunities to make those investments. So in our plan, we call for federal resources for small business loans for that van or the investment in capital equipment or the ability to hire other veterans to make sure that you can provide that service, manufacture that product, start that farm or that ranch that's going to allow this economy to really succeed and to ensure that veterans are, just as they did in uniform, performing to their highest capacity in civilian life. And all it takes is a little bit of investment and help from the federal government, which is what we want to be able to do in our administration. So thank you for raising that point as well. Appreciate it. Sir.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. My name is Wilson Blunt, Pasco County. On your plan for the vets, does it include provisions to do away with this silly idea that when a veteran applies for a loan for a home, he has to pay a funding fee? That funding fee is paid for him to get his own money that he has earned. So that's a little bit ridiculous. I think it's a back pay door to the banks. But moving on, I'm retired, 29 years of service, and I don't have PTSD myself. But my brother was wounded in the Korean War, and I watched him over the years, and I did not know it, but he had PTS at the time, serious PTSD. I did not know what it was. I just thought he had a drinking problem and all that, but it turns out it was serious PTSD. I had a first cousin who were best friends in high school. I went into the Air Force, went to Tuskegee, and he became a combat medic in Vietnam. 2 tours. Wounded each tour. And now he has severe PTSD and is being treated, but I think from talking to him, again, it's a drug, and no treatment kind of thing. So some help with that would certainly be helpful. One other thing, I noticed that there have been several VA directors under the current administration. And it seems to me, from reading the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, that the VA is not being managed by either of those. They're being managed by a trio down at Mar-a-Lago.
That's right.
My suggestion to you, sir, would be to hire the best guy you can get for the job. Not me, of course. I'm not terribly interested. But I would suggest that you hire the best person, male or female, whatever gender they may be, and then give them the authority to run the VA. And that you should meet with them at least once a month, door to door, and find out what's going on, a briefing every day to say what this problem is, what you want him to do about it, and take a personal interest in everything that's going on over there. I think that would be a great help. And I also understand that the 40,000 unfilled positions you mentioned in your talk, a lot of those are unfunded. It seems to me if you could raise the tax on the super rich by 0.1%, you should be able to fill all those positions. And if we want to fight a war and send our vets off to war, we ought to pay them. And I think you can't build bridges and roads without our current tax structure. I don't know what the answer is, but when the current tax structure can't support our VAs and this kind of thing. So I'll see you in Miami, sir.
Sounds good. And I think Secretary Blunt has a great ring to it, so I'm open to the consideration.
I like it.
This is why we have roundtable meetings like this one, and why I'm listening to you. You asked a very specific question. We don't address the funding fee, but I want to address it now that you've raised it, to make sure that housing is affordable to every veteran, especially when we have a crisis in veterans homelessness, something that was raised by Mr. Cartwright at the beginning of this meeting. So excellent idea. I also want to address the fact that Korea war veterans, Vietnam-era veterans who have not been at the VA, in many cases don't want to start going to the VA. And a great alternative are these vet centers, some of which I've visited in Texas, where you don't have to register at the front desk at the VA clinic or hospital. You can sit around a table like this one, and in group therapy, where you don't have to register, put your name in, it's not on your record. You can talk through experiences that you've kept bottled up for the last 60 years if you're a Korea War era veteran, last 50, 45 years, last 28 years, regardless of your era of service, you're able to get help from your fellow veterans facilitated by a mental health care professional. And I can't tell you how many veterans I've met who've come out of one of those vet centers and said, that saved my life. Just the ability to connect with somebody who experienced the same thing that I did. So we will make sure that is front and center as well. And then lastly, you mentioned the tax code. It's going to be unbelievable to the generations down the road when they look back on us that when we were more than $20 trillion in debt, that we cut a $2 trillion tax cut to the very wealthiest and to corporations, when we had all of these unmet needs like those that we're describing here at the table. So yes, let's make sure that we reform that tax code so that we make investments in people, in communities, in veterans to make sure that they're able to get the respect and care and service that they've earned and live to their full potential in this country. We will make those changes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good morning. My name is John Makis Jr. I'm a Department Service Officer for the Disabled American Veterans at C.W. Bill Young, VA. I'm also with the Department of Florida. I'm a Vietnam veteran from the Marine Corps, disabled American veteran as well, and I help to facilitate the paperwork that the people do to get their claims. So I know the hard sides of it. It is a complicated process.
John, how long are those veterans whom you're helping waiting for now on an appeal to a service-connected disability claim?
It depends really on the amount of paperwork that's there and the amount of documentation they have. It can vary. I've seen claims go through in a couple of days depending on the situation, and I've seen it take a considerable amount of time. There's really no rhyme or reason. You know, it's hard to put a finger on any specific point.
What do you think about the idea of accelerating those appeals when they're filed with all of the service and medical information at once? So if the VSO officer and the veteran agree to put everything down, document that, submit it, then the VA agrees to accelerate treatment and response on that claim. In other words, creating kind of a fast lane for those who will fully file a claim at the outset.
I think it would be a beneficial thing. You know, it's a convoluted system in some respects, you know, and documentation is also a problem in a lot of respects as well. Some people just don't have the records.
That's right.
You know, and now I understand that Department of Defense is going to start uploading everything directly to the VA, which should simplify things a lot.
Or those records were lost in a fire in St. Louis, or we cannot find the information. It gets back to Bryce's point. I think the onus is on the government to trust the veteran after that veteran trusted his life to this government. And so let's err on the side of just believing that veteran if we cannot find that paperwork or documentation. Thank you for helping those veterans to file those claims and to get them a speedy response. I want to make sure that you guide us in our administration to make sure that the policy and the law follows those best practices that you have delivered for veterans. Thank you. Sir.
My name is Frank Chicola. I'm a state service officer, past state commander for the Disabled American Veterans, and also for the Military Order of the Purple Heart. I'm also a Vietnam vet. My unit was deployed 101st Airborne right before Tet in December of '67. Tet broke out in January. I've been wounded a few times, got a couple of Purple Hearts. When I got out, I didn't know anything about my benefits. That's why I became a state service officer, to educate veterans on what they should be getting. I have World War II vets, Korean War vets coming in and don't even know that they were entitled to benefits. The VA don't tell them.
Right.
It's the service officer that tells them. I've got people, we talk about presumptives. Agent Orange, they come out maybe every 5 years, and they throw a couple more out there, okay? But there's many thousands that died already that doesn't get that benefit. And it's like Camp Lejeune, the same thing. They're nickel and diming us on that. We're not getting really any kind of ratings out of there. And I can go on and on, the burn pits and so on. But I've been hearing, a lot about the suicides and all that. I can count on my hands how many residential programs in the VA there are. All right? They get on a waiting list to get in this residential program, and, they might have already been gone now. All right? There's just so many things to be turned around. We fought, I know you as a congressman, with the Veterans Committee, you dealt with the disabled American veterans. We have congressmen out there that deal with a lot of veteran issues. Congressman Gus Bilirakis, if you look at his record and you look at how many bills he put in for veterans, even as a state legislator, people could shake their head, but I'm going to tell you, he is very veteran friendly, and you would know that. That's why I do all his compensation claims. He calls me if he has something, because you can't get a claim done in a congressional office. You can get an inquiry, but you can't get a claim done. So that's something I do for them to make sure that veterans get their benefits they deserve. So I'm hoping that there's more education within the VA system to let veterans know exactly what they're entitled to.
And Frank, what we will do is take that one step further and not wait until that service member becomes a veteran, and not wait for the VA to do this. I think it's important that the Department of Defense ensures that before that service member separates, that they are connected with the VA in the community that they are going to be moving to, already enrolled. You mentioned World War II veterans who are now in their 90s and are just realizing that they were eligible for VA care. I've listened to post 9/11 veterans who've told me it was 7, 8, 9 years before they realized they had PTSD and then tried to navigate the VA. Day one, before day one, while you're still in service, you're enrolled, you're connected, you're screened for primary health care challenges. You're also screened for mental health care challenges before you transition into civilian life, and immediately you're connected with a provider at the VA. So point taken, and let's make sure that we begin right in DOD and not wait, and then ensure that records are effectively shared between DOD and VA. Big problem right now, and it has been in every preceding presidential administration. Let's stop kicking the ball, kicking the can down the road. Let's make sure that we connect those two systems and ensure there's seamless transition and care for service members as they become veterans. Thank you, Frank.
Right. Let me just add something else. Right now, we are over there in the TAP programs.
That's right. Transition.
And doing the claims, okay? Yep. But, even when we win something through Congress, I can say, like the caregiver bill, all right? It was always post 9/11. All these other older veterans were pushed around in wheelchairs. Their wives sacrificed their whole lives for this veteran and got nothing.
That's right.
So when we fought and won the caregiver bill,
that's right.
We don't have applications for it. We don't have funding for it. We won nothing. Okay? So if we're going to win something, then the VA needs to provide it.
Well said. Thank you, Frank.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Mimi Wazalewski, and I am not a veteran, but I am a daughter of one, and I am a wife of one, and I'm honored to be here at the table amongst all of these wonderful veterans that have served our country. And thank you to Mr. Jerry for organizing this, and thank you so much for coming to listen to us. There's so many candidates that have had the opportunity to come and listen and actually really hear some beneficial, information that could help our country, and they choose to come for their photos, but really nothing is done. And I've been waiting for something to be done because I'm a product of a father who spent 23 years in the military, also served in Vietnam, and was the kind of person that was very proud, never wanted to be one that would take. But when he needed the VA, they weren't there for them, and they're still not there for him. And it's been a very sad thing for me to watch. He's going through early onset memory challenges, and I don't remember many things, and my mother is no longer here, but it's been a very difficult road with the VA to get assistance and to get claims approved. Right now, I'm trying to take all this on, but I'm very unknowledged of all of the details and the intricacies of the VA process. And there's also a lot of people who you know and who you don't know. You mentioned Mike Bilirakis, who
Gus and Mike.
Okay, who was actually not really helpful to me at all. So what I am interested in is a candidate who wants to take on VA problems, because there are VA problems. It's a wonderful thing that they've done for our military people, but when you're not doing the job, what good is it? So we want someone to listen to the problems and to what the solutions can be. We want to know that, and we would like someone to actually truly follow through. There are people with their lives on the line. I heard a lot of people mention, and I know that there are people that wait to die is what their motto, I suppose, is, and it's a pretty sad thing and very disappointing. We're a country of many, many different people with challenges, money. We're not unfamiliar with wanting to run a budget or a deficit up to such a high degree, and we leave our veterans on the street. It just is sad to me. And my father also has tried to get claims. He can't remember a lot of things, but trust the veteran. You certainly threw him out there. Trust that whenever he is having an issue, it probably is valid. I got a letter back that said that my father mentioned snow blindness, and it was kind of laughed at from the contracted doctor. I think that these doctors who they choose to be people that actually make a difference, a huge monetary difference in someone's life, needs to be, I don't know what the vetting process is, but they certainly have never served in the military, and they don't understand a military problem. And to feel like snow blindness is not an actual issue that could be a service-related issue is insulting to me. So maybe you need to serve before you make those kinds of medical decisions. I also have, as I mentioned, a husband who, in the military, he worked as an attorney as well, and when he came out, why is it that he could not get a job? Why is it that our country can leave people that are good people behind and not feel like they have a valid, they can bring something valid to our private sector, especially in a government job? And if you're offering that, it feels to me like it's a country club type of thing where you have to have a certain word you put in, or you know somebody, and then you can maybe get an interview. Why is it that we don't take care of our veterans who serve? And my husband served for over 22 years. Why can't you see that there's some validity to his service? Just because he has been out of practice because of the military, he served our country, and he could have been doing private practice and making certainly a lot more money, but when he comes out, where are you? I just need, I'm going to speak for myself, to be able to trust our government, to be able to understand that you've got our back. You spend all of our tax dollars, so much of our money, someone mentioned in the billions.
120.
Why aren't we making sure that our veterans are being taken care of on all levels? There's so many problems, from mental health to medical to jobs, and it's all very important. It all needs to be highlighted, and they need to take this seriously. And I'm tired of our government, our president, making a mockery of this very important department in our government. these are veterans. And how is it that you have people that aren't even licensed to do business for Veteran Affairs making decisions? And I'm just tired of the lengthy time. I'm tired of the denials that make no sense. I'm tired of someone saying that they're all for veterans, but really they show me no action. So I'm looking for someone. I'm looking for a candidate. I'm praying and hoping that that would be someone like yourself that will actually really follow through and take this matter and be serious with it and change whatever it is that we need change, stick with whatever it is that works, and let's make sure that people in the future, my son who wants to join the military, make sure that he's protected in and after. So thank you so much for your
Mimi, thank you for everything that you just said and everyone that you're advocating for, your family members, your son, but you also are advocating for anyone who's ever served or ever will serve, and you want to make sure that we make this right. I'm going to very briefly touch on some of the issues that you raised. All of them are important. You mentioned Alzheimer's and dementia. We know that veterans disproportionately suffer from this. That's why in our plan we're calling for a doubling of the investment in the National Institutes of Health from $2.5 billion a year to $5 billion a year to make sure that we come up not just with the treatments but the cures for those veterans and other Americans who are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. You mentioned the caregiving that you're providing. Frank raised this issue as well in terms of caregiver parity. I'll make sure that those caregiver programs are funded. So if it is you or your mother or another family member who's providing that care for your father, for your husband, for your son down the road, that they're compensated so that they can provide that. We will expedite claims and treatment. No one should have to navigate the bureaucracy or the red tape. And then you mentioned your husband's struggle in finding a job after 23 years of service to this country. We've proposed a reverse boot camp while still in service that would connect that service member with a career or education or skills or training or employment before they separate, so that they do not fall through the cracks and they're connected and able to contribute to their full potential. One of my colleagues on the Veterans Affairs Committee, a Republican, Brad Wenstrup of Ohio, asked this great question. He said, the moment that you enlist, we should ask you what you might want to be doing after you've served your country, and make sure that that's on our minds as we train and prepare you, not just for service and battle, but for success afterwards. Let's begin that on day one. And then this last most important issue you raised that I think is on everyone's minds. Beto, maybe you talk a good game. Maybe you've shown up here. You've assembled these veterans. How in the world can we trust you to deliver on these ambitions that we've described today? I can only tell you that I asked to serve on the House Veterans Affairs Committee when I was first sworn in 2013, worked with Republicans and Democrats alike to expand access to care. When we learned at a meeting like this one that veterans who came back with an other than honorable discharge were denied the ability to set foot in the VA and that they were taking their lives at twice the rate of the general veterans population, we wrote legislation, made the case, got it passed by members of Congress to expand mental health care to those veterans with bad paper discharges, got it signed into law by the one person with whom I agree on almost nothing, Donald Trump, but found enough common ground to get that done. When we found out El Paso ranked dead last in mental health care access, worked with the community to go from 68 full-time mental health care staff to nearly 120 today. That wasn't by act of Congress. I literally got on the horn with mental health care providers like Ronald and helped to talk them into moving to El Paso and providing care for our veterans there. I made it my priority and our full-time job and held myself accountable. And from doing that, we were able to turn that around. We're no longer dead last. Some days we actually do better than the national average in response times. I will not be satisfied until we are number one. And I won't be satisfied until every veteran gets that care without having to wait years or months or weeks. It should be minutes if it is a wait at all. So just know that it is not only my priority, it is something that I've been able to act on and deliver before, and something that I'm committed to going forward. So thank you. Thank you, Mimi, for everything.
You can
And that is going to do it for us today at Fox 29's News Now. Catch us again tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. And be sure to follow Fox 29 at fox29.com, as well as our mobile app and across social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest breaking news. And thank you for joining us.